Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. The upcoming Mayer vs. Spencer junior middleweight title fight has been upgraded to a unified title fight. Thursday's Mary Spencer vs. Michaela Mayer showdown will now feature 3 world titles. In addition to Spencer's WBA title, the vacant WBO and WBC titles will be on the line in Montreal, Canada this Thursday. This is a byproduct of Cecilia Brækhus' subsequent retirement after beating then unified champion Emma Kozin for what were these 2 alphabet titles. I half expected Cecilia to hang around long enough to challenge the winner of this fight, but I guess not. I guess she really meant it when she said that will be her final fight. A happy retirement to her in what has been a legendary boxing career. Over to Michaela and Mary. Slightest development further fuels my suspicions that should Michaela Mayer win on Thursday, she's not going to move back down to welter. Not if she's got more hardware at 154, which could give her leverage over Lauren Price, unified welterweight champion. There was an effort to put Michaela in the ring with Lauren before this year is out, but then Boxer's deal with Sky Sports ended. They ended up on BBC, and now that fight is on ice, since they're not getting the licensing fees on BBC that they were getting on Sky, i.e., they don't have the same money, same budget. Michaela Mayer is not about to go back to the United Kingdom for peanuts on the dollar. It would take a decent amount of money to get her over there, an amount of money that Boxer doesn't have right now. Hence her moving up to the junior middleweight division for this fight with Mary. That's now for 3 alphabet titles instead of just 1. If Michaela wins, she'll have the same number of titles at 154 that Lauren has at 147. So why would she make concessions to Lauren? Why move back down to 147 for just your 1 title when at 154 you've got 3? And it's only a matter of time before Lauren Price moves up to the junior middleweight division as a unified champion. You can wait her out. Bottom line, if Michaela Mayer wins on Thursday, I don't think she moves back down to 147. I think she stays put at 154, though it all depends on how the Spencer fight goes. Now, what you're seeing from the alphabets in making these 2 newly vacated titles available to these 2 fighters is a practice that Claressa Shields has largely benefited from at 160, at 154, at light heavy and heavy. Would seem they're extending that professional courtesy to Michaela Mayer, and to that, a Twitter user that goes by the name Boog Williams said, "Nice. Here is another example of a vacant unified title fight which they critique Claressa Shields for doing." People don't critique Claressa for fighting for vacant titles. They critique her for saying she's the greatest woman of all times, while fighting for mostly vacant titles that no one is holding. If Michaela Mayer had an overbearing personality like Claressa, they would say the same thing about her. This is a false equivalency argument. You have to pretend that people's only issue with Claressa is that she fights for a lot of vacant titles, when we all know that's not the issue. The issue is her attitude. The issue is her mouth. Not fighting for vacant titles. A lot of fighters fight for vacant titles, but not a lot of fighters got an ego the size of Claressa's. So if you're gonna liken Michaela Mayer's fight to some of Claressa Shields' fights, tell the whole story, why don't you? Well, a lot of Claressa Shields fans don't want to, because then they have to acknowledge the truth about Claressa. Maybe what you like about that fighter is what some people don't like about that fighter. She talks too goddamn much. She's always got a problem with somebody. She's beefed with anyone from male boxers to male rappers. Anyone from Cameron Giles to a long-retired Layla Ali. The other day I saw Sean Zattel attempting to run spin for Claressa, sort of apologizing for her personality that he seems to like because he calls it genuine. Maybe it is. Now that she's not PC and PG and media trained like some other fighters, so with her, what you see is what you get. But when what you get is a piece of shit, albeit a genuine piece of shit, still a piece of shit. So maybe what you like about Claressa is the same thing that a lot of people don't like about Claressa, because it's not written on any piece of papyrus or parchment in somebody's museum that we have to like her. Yeah, I like Michaela Mayer more than Claressa Shields. I happen to think Michaela Mayer is consistently in better and more competitive fights that are more entertaining than anything Claressa does. I like Michaela's reserve. I like her ice-cold demeanor. I like who she is as a person as well. I don't like Claressa. I don't have to. Muster up as many whataboutisms as you like. To your heart's delight, you willfully ignore what it is people don't like about Clarissa. It's a mouth. It's her attitude. You're making this about something that it's not so that you can willfully ignore what it is about. Which is an exercise in futility anyway. You can muster up all the whataboutisms in the world. It won't make Clarissa more likable. I like Michaela Mayer. I like how she fights. I like who she is. I even like how she looks. She's kind of hot. And I don't like Clarissa. I don't fucking have to. Men's middleweight news. It's official. Janibek Kanelai versus Erislandy Lara. Unification match is on. I'll take it that the paperwork has been finalized and all systems are a go, because we've already been hearing about this fight being made for the last 2 or 3 weeks. The middleweight division has its most important fight in years lined up. The 3-belt unification at 160 is going to happen. An official connected to the bout between WBO and IBF champion Janibek Kanelai and WBA champion Erislandy Lara told Boxing Scene on Monday. The storied middleweight division has been home to countless legendary clashes over the years, but has been dormant following the departures of Saul Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin in the past half-decade. Kanelai versus Lara is arguably the most important fight at 160 since Alvarez versus Golovkin 2 back in 2018. The fight will be staged as the co-main event to the December 6th 140-pound interim WBC title fight between Mexico's Isaac Pitbull Cruz and WBA junior lightweight champion Lamont Roach Jr. in San Antonio. Kazakhstan's Kanelai, 17-0 with 12 KOs, hasn't fought since April, and the bout will be on the PBC Champions Prime Video Pay-Per-View.com card as his promoter Top Rank awaits a new broadcast deal. Cuba's 42-year-old Lara, 31-3 with 3 draws and 19 knockouts, stopped former 2-weight world champion Danny Gersha in September of last year, but hasn't fought since. He's confident nonetheless. Fighting Janibek Kanelai should let the world know that at my age, I continue to fight the best and defy the odds, Lara told Boxing Scene via text. This is a dangerous fight for the both of us, and we are both champions. It's gonna be a tremendous fight. Credit to Lara for taking on the fight that Carlos Adames did not want to take on, because Carlos's original excuse when it was Turkey trying to put the fight together between him and Janibek was that he didn't want to go back to Saudi due to what happened in the Shiraz fight. Fast forward a few weeks and a few months, Janibek is coming to your side of the street. But where are you? Why is Lara accepting the fight when you're the ones with all the backstory? All the history. You guys are the ones that have been playing phone tag with each other on Twitter, via email. And so, the winner of Janibek versus Lara would be positioned for a high-profile bout next year. Carlos Adames has the 4th belt at middleweight and could make an undisputed title fight, or perhaps Terence Crawford, the undisputed super middleweight champion, is tempted to fight for what would be a 6th division title. Lara will be the most distinguished opponent on the resume of Kanelai, 32, considering that Lara has fought Canelo, Austin Trout, Jarrett Hurd, and Brian Castano. I mean, this is definitely the most consequential fight the middleweight division will have seen in years, but it's all relatively speaking. Janibek doesn't go in there with a 42-year-old Lara, beat him, and suddenly become a superstar. It says a lot that Lara's the one having this fight, not Carlos. It's on the PBC side of things, so what's Carlos's excuse? Nothing, he just never really wanted it. He didn't want that fight with Janibek, and now we know. So the feeling is that Janibek, due to his size and youth and aggressiveness, is likely going to steamroll the old-timer Erislandy Lara, the 2-weight world champion who will have not seen action in over a year, bringing Janibek's head count of champions that he's beaten to 2. He won the IBF title from then-champion Vincenzo Gualtieri, and if he beats Lara, that makes for the WBA 2 champion scalps, with only 1 remaining. Do I trust that Carlos Adames will fight Janibek if he wins this fight? Not sure. I think he should have fought him already. It seems he's quite content doing nothing. Absolutely nothing. Instead of unifying. Instead of fighting. So how do you deal with a guy like that? They also made mention of Janibek potentially facing Terence Crawford, who's reported to have been offered this fight for the coming year. Likely on Turkey LL Sheik's time. Which would pay out Janibek more for fighting Crawford than unifying with Carlos. Not that Carlos is in any hurry to unify. Because he isn't. A lot of us are still high on Terence Crawford's big win over Canelo Alvarez and how impressive that was, but don't confuse out-hustling Canelo with out-hustling Janibek. Those are two very different fighters with very different physical dimensions. Janibek has all the height and length that Canelo Alvarez doesn't have, which could theoretically make him harder to navigate around because he's got longer arms
and longer legs that make for longer strides. He's also a combination puncher, an aggressive one. He doesn't pick his punches as much as Canelo does, and that half a second that you lose doing that.
He doesn't have that problem. He doesn't load up his punches like Canelo Alvarez as well. Over the years, Canelo's output has waned, and he's focused more on accurate power shots instead of activity, whereas Janibek, he is an activity guy. He throws punches in bunches, which coupled with his height, his length, and his youth, could make him hard for Terence to work around. I'm a big Terence Crawford fan. I have been for years, but the more I think about a Janibek fight, the more dangerous it seems.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a walk in the park if they do it. It's been subject to a lot of speculation because Terence did say he might move down the middle. He hasn't officially retired, and no one's really expecting him to stay at super middleweight, to stay at 168. Most are expecting if he continues to fight, he will likely move down.
So who better to fight than the winner of Lara versus Janibek that most anticipate is going to be Janibek.
Just going over to the PBC side of things for that Arislandi-Lara fight. And where normally that might raise some red flags and some concerns, because I think he's going to stop Lara. Side of the street they're on isn't that big a deal. If you can take it out of the judge's hands, you can nip it in the bud and prevent any funny business. And I think he's about to. I do think he's going to stop Lara. That's not a bad-looking card. Cruz versus Roach.
With Janibek versus Lara in the co-main event that I think is going to end in a knockout. Yeah, that's not a bad-looking card. Not a bad-looking card from the PBC that normally serves up a lot of garbage. This one's all right.
Janibek takes care of business. He might be in the running for a Crawford fight. A Crawford fight that Roy Jones Jr. actually wants Terence Crawford to have, saying he should pursue a title at 160 and not Canelo in a rematch.
Who said Canelo wants one?
The million-dollar question surrounding Terence Crawford is what's next. Crawford is fresh off a convincing unanimous decision win against Canelo last month in Vegas. With the career-best victory, Crawford became the undisputed super middleweight king, a 5-division champion and a 3-weight undisputed champion, pound-for-pound king of the sport. Crawford has accumulated titles at 135, 140, 147, 154, and 168 throughout his illustrious 17-year career, but not at 160. At the age of 38, the Nebraska native has left the door open for both retirement and the idea of taking on another desirable and legacy-defining challenge. Hall of Fame fighter Roy Jones Jr., who picked Crawford to beat Alvarez before the fight, says Crawford should pursue a title at middleweight and not a rematch against the Mexican superstar if it's presented. I think he should go down and win a title at 160 and close it off. That's fire, Jones told the ring. I'm not really interested in the rematch.
Well, I'm not either, Roy, but you can't deny that a rematch with Canelo would pay substantially more than a fight with Janibek Alimkhanuly, and for a 38-year-old fighter that's got enough legacy to go around, at this point, it's the money that matters, the money that you retire on.
Roy continued, I'm not really interested in the rematch. Canelo can do anything he wants to. He's done so much already. There's really not much left for him to do. Canelo can probably either take the rematch or close the door because Canelo has done way more than enough. Crawford has already stated that he won't be fighting at junior middle anymore or make any improbable light heavyweight run, and he hasn't ruled out the possibility of zeroing in on a 160-pound champion sometime next year. The middleweight picture currently features the ring's #1 middleweight, Janibek Alimkhanuly, as the IBF and WBO champion, Arislandi Lara as the WBA belt holder, and Carlos Adames as the WBC champion. Alimkhanuly and Lara are set to square off in a title unification fight on December 6th. Will Crawford be inclined to take on the winner and the chance to collect 3 more belts at once? The answer to the million-dollar question is forthcoming.
It's more than $1 million if Turkey El Sheikh is involved, and he likely will be. It's just a matter of fact. It's a matter of economics. If Canelo wants a rematch, not that I see him asking for one, that pays better than an Alim Khanalai fight. And for a fighter who's done so much already, he's got enough legacy to go around. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer as soon as he retires. At this stage, it really is about the money and ensuring that you have enough of it to retire comfortably.
It was recently announced that Canelo has undergone successful surgery for what was his injury.
I've heard no mention about wanting a rematch from either Canelo or Eddie Reynoso or anybody on that side. Haven't heard anything about that from Turkey El Sheikh either. So any mention of a Canelo versus Crawford sequel has been largely speculative.
I don't even want to see them run it back. I don't think Canelo can win the rematch. I don't think he can do anything differently. The fight that Terence Crawford fought,
He fought the perfect fight.
if you give him a chance to do it again, he's likely going to do it even better in the sequel. Rematches are often won by the fighter who can change, the one who can adapt. And now I see that that's really more Terence Crawford than Canelo Alvarez. So here and now, not only do I not want to see a rematch, I don't really know that Canelo wants one.
The only thing is the scenario that Roy presented. Roy is of the opinion that if both fights are offered to Terence, he should just move down, go fight Janibek. And I'm thinking, well, if both fights get offered to him, he'll likely fight Canelo again, if it's offered to him.
Big if.
So many intangibles and alternate scenarios due to the radio silence from Terence Crawford, who hasn't officially retired yet, but he hasn't told us what he's going to do next. He's just enjoying the spoils of victory, enjoying his money. He deserves it.
But I don't know how attached any of us can get to the idea that Terence Crawford will continue to fight. It's in the air right now. It's just as likely that he retires as it is that he doesn't.